Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dancing Sober podcast. Thank you once again to Espacio 1839 for allowing us to do our podcast here in this beautiful store on 1839 East 1st Street in the lovely city of Boyle Heights, right next to El Mariachi Plaza. Take the gold line here, it's very simple. Shout out to Picaresca Coffee Roasters because we got our last batch from them. This is our last batch that's coming from Picaresca. This is a medium light roast from Nicaragua. If you're interested, this is only going to be available at the Caminarte that's coming up on August 11th, I think is the date. So check it out. Here's the graphic, but you could also go to Caminarte Boyle Heights on Instagram. Don't forget, we are listener supported. If you'd like to make a donation, go to Venmo and hit up Dancing Sober, DANCNG SOBR at Dancing Sober on Venmo. Once again, I forgot to hit record on the audio, on the microphones. But again, around the 8-minute this time, I remembered, and you'll see me push the button record. For the first 10 minutes, you'll hear the sound coming from the GoPros. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dancing Sober podcast. And this week we have in the studio comic book artist, local legend, el señor Joe Benitez from East LA.
What's up?
What's up, brother? I've known Joe for a long time, but we don't see each other too often.
When did we first meet?
God, it had to be like
in the
90s.
Yeah, but early.
Yeah, like 94.
Yeah.
Ish.
You.
Or 90, 96 ish. It was before I went off and did my band stuff.
Yeah, it's like because you were hanging out with Mike at the time. So.
Yeah, we were making movies.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I think. So early 90s, early to mid 90s, yeah.
You might have seen some of those movies if you have been into Mike's drawers.
Yeah.
But no, those movies never came out. But yeah, we've known each other for a long time, and I always knew you were a comic book artist, and little by little, I learned more about you, and then, it was when I realized like the extent that you were in the comic book world, I was pretty blown away. Mm-hmm. You've been in it for 30 years now.
Actually, next month, right now, today's the 25th.
Yeah.
So August, I want to say maybe 13 or it's. I went to San Diego Comic-Con in 1993.
Yeah.
And showed my wares there. Dragged my little brother and a suitcase full of really heavy artboard down to San Diego and showed my work, and it's like got hired.
How old are you?
22. Yeah, it was funny because it's like, well, the thing is, back then, 92. If you're into comic books, you'd probably remember the big image boom, and but there's other companies that were really taking off, and they were all looking for talent at the time. So. I decided to take a chance. Like I actually was sending all my stuff, submitting my work to all kinds of different companies, but I was getting rejected left and right. And I knew that San Diego Comic-Con was coming up, so it's like I prepped for I think a month, 2 months of just doing specifically, samples to show at the show.
Well. Here we like to start from the beginning.
Back.
So
in the Wayback Machine.
Let's pull out the Wayback Machine and let's start at where you were born and where you grew up and what kind of life you had as a kid.
Yeah, I was born in Guadalajara, Jalisco.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, in 1971. It's like my mom and my dad were from a little pueblo called Huejucar.
We were born 5 months apart. Close to each other.
No shit.
I'm from Pihuamo, Jalisco, which is right around there.
So we're both tapatíos?
Yeah.
All right. It's like,
For those of you that have tapatio all the time, if you didn't know, the tapatio is somebody from Jalisco.
Right. So yeah, it's like, I think a year and a half, we immigrated to Los Angeles. It's like, I was, we did what we did back in the day. Paid a coyote to take us across. Like they actually, we had a friend or someone who had a passport for a little girl. So they dressed me up like a little girl.
No way.
And my mom and my dad, they crossed over the traditional way.
Yeah.
And we went to the border, and it's like almost got caught because it's like when they went up to the border agent, and he asked in Spanish, ¿A dónde vas? And I go, a ver a mi mami y mi papi.
Oh.
And the two parents, were supposed to be, So they said that they were like, what the fuck? I came over, and we settled. My aunts, my mom's sisters were living in North Hollywood, so we ended up living with them for a bit, and then we got our, I guess, our own little apartment, and I lived in North Hollywood. Until I was 6 or 7, something like that.
Okay. So, but you started elementary school out there then, and then headed out to East LA?
Yeah, we lived in North Hollywood, and then my dad he had a job in Long Beach. He was a mover, or heavy lifting, stuff like that. But he would go on the weekdays, like Monday, and then come back Saturday. Mm. And my aunt was living in East LA, and she's like, come on over, stay over. So we moved over just to make it a little, easier for him to travel back and forth.
Nice.
And been there ever since.
You're still in the same place?
Well, not that exact same place. We it's like we were actually there from 1989.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you went to Belvedere and Griffith?
No.
You went to Griffith?
I went to Stevenson Junior. Went to Eastman, Stevenson, and Garfield.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like graduated in '89.
Oh, it's interesting that you ended up going to Stevenson, being on that side.
Yeah, well, I was Stevenson. Yeah, that's right. Actually, Stevenson is right on Indiana, so it kind of borders it.
Yeah. So what kind of student were you in middle school?
Well, pretty quiet. I mean, it's like the thing is I think the thing is that thing with the art thing, it's like I've always been known as the artist. Mm-hmm. It's like
when did you start drawing?
Well, my earliest memory is my mom was a seamstress, and she used to work at a factory, and we lived right across the street from where she worked. So when she couldn't get a babysitter or something, I would she would take care of me, or they would
sit right next to her.
Yeah, so I was sitting right by her lap, or right by on the floor. She would cut these big chunks of butcher board.
Nice.
Paper, and and I would just draw engines or whatever, and it's like Spider-Man, and it's like, and I asked her, and she goes, yeah, you were probably 3, around 3 or 4. That's when she was working there, and so that was always something I did. I always
just drew.
Yeah, I just drew. It was just a thing, it's just
keep your hands busy, keep your mind busy.
I enjoyed it. Yeah. Like I remember going to there was a store called Zodi's.
Yeah, I remember Zodi's.
Yeah, it's like, so I remember walking down the clothing aisle, and there are tags on the shirts with Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, whatever. Mm-hmm. I would just take them home, and then just draw that. I didn't have comics, it's just
that's awesome though. Like, you wanted the reference image, so you took it from the tags. Yeah,
it's just, oh shit, that's a really cool Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He's jumping or Batman or whatever. So I would rat it and a jacket, and if I can draw it, when I get home. So it's like, yes. I mean, that's when I started back then. That's the earliest memories of me drawing.
Wow, that must have been a trip. So you started drawing as a child.
Mm.
When was your first, I know you, did you have any kind of instruction? I know you're self-taught. You learned just by doing since you were little.
Yeah, it's like, was it?
I don't want to get into the art, your comic book world yet, but as yourself before, was there any kind of instruction, anything?
No. Well, here's the thing. It's like I came across there were different I guess, mentors.
Yeah,
When I was living in North Hollywood, there was this kid, probably 15, who lived right next door on the apartment next door, and he would sit in the stairs in the middle between our two apartments, and he would draw he had one of those McDonald's mats or paper mats, and there was a whole bunch of different images in there, and he would sit there and draw all of them, and I would be in awe, like just staring. Probably that's where I got the idea to copy other drawings, but he would just sit there and draw what was on the mat. So that was something that really appealed to me, and I was like, wow, was looking up. I was 5, 6 year old kid, so it's like it was something that looked cool. And then later on, my cousin Manuel, my dad's brother's son, he was also an artist. No, Martin. Yeah, I think it's Martin. Yeah, Martin. He was also an artist, and when I was a kid, I remember him coming over to the house, and it's like, Martin. Man, I haven't.
One of the Mexican M's.
Yeah, but no, it's just the way it's been years since But I mean, I would just sit in awe. Like he would draw Superman. Yeah. I would ask him, "Can you draw?" And he drew this super cool Superman, and I was just again in awe. Like, wow, he can do that. That's magic. Like how and I wanted to do that. And I remember him coming over. I think the last time I saw him was when I was like 15 or 16. Came over to the house and I showed him my work, and I was kind of like wanting to get his approval. Like, what do you think? What do you think? It's like, it looks good. It's, but the thing is, art has always been my sort of my in with people, because it's like I'm extremely shy growing up. I didn't like in school at the dudes outside, the homies out in the fucking street. It's like, yeah, we all hung out. We're all brothers, and we all played around. But in school, I was very, I think, standoffish. But the art always, I always felt very empowered with the art. And I remember whenever there was an art assignment in elementary, I was like, I knew that I would do okay. And there were a few moments that I got annoyed because it's like. Someone else, I saw that they were better than me, and it just pissed me off, and I was like, I need to kick his ass, Do
you remember winning competitions and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's like, I think it's like in elementary in Eastman, they're always having these, you draw something and you win a prize or whatever.
Yeah.
There was a moment when I got annoyed because I think 81, 82, whenever E.T. came out.
Yeah, 81.
So it's like, again, I must have been 10 or 11, something like that. And we were all like in a group, and we were coming up with ads on how to, to throw trash away, like, clean up, stop littering kind of. So I drew E.T. with it's just stupid, but E.T. with the garbage in the garbage can, and I was drawing that, and that was on the this week, and then Friday that weekend I got the chicken pox.
Oh, wow.
So I was out of commission for a week or two. I came back. I didn't finish my big ad campaign thing with E.T. And I was like, whatever. It's like, sucks that I didn't get a chance. And we were there, and they were presenting the winner of this competition. And it's like, this kid did what I was doing.
What?
And I don't remember, one of my friends is like, that's your thing. It's like, I know. It's like, so I was so annoyed by that he, this kid got that. And he got a prize or whatever, a medal. I don't remember exactly what they got. But I was annoyed by that shit.
When do you think it was that you realized that, like, this is something that you're going to do, like, I mean, were you that young when you realized this is what I'm going to do forever?
I didn't. The thing is, it's like, it was just something I always did. It's like, like when I was in Stevenson, and the thing is, I was always getting what do you call it? People were always giving me attention for the work, you know, and you know, in high school, again, the jocks would always hit me up to draw their Letterman jacket or design the T-shirts, or not. They wouldn't hit me up, but it's like one of the things that we designed class T-shirt, you know. But I drew one. I just never submitted it. And I was sitting in class with this girl who was in student council, and it's like I used to carry my books around, my portfolio, and she asked if she could flip through it, and I was like, yeah. So she's flipping through it, and she finds the design that I did, and she's like, what's this? It's like, oh, it's for the class T-shirt. Why didn't you submit it? You know, never got around to it. And it's like, can I have it? It's like, yeah. Hey, can I show it to? Yeah. She took it and showed it to the student council. They ended up doing a what do you call it? A hoodie.
Oh no way.
Yeah, so they did that and they put it on that instead of the shirt. So it's like, but based off that, I got a gig working at this mom and pop silkscreen shop that was doing the shirts for the schools called Carjo.
No way.
And, but the thing is, before that, I was like, I don't have any skills. Yeah. I don't want to work at Target. I don't want to work at the gas station. I don't have any. I'm not a manual type of guy. You know, it's like I don't work well with my hands. I'm fucking lazy. It's just like, you know, and
those things haven't changed. Huh?
No. I'm trying to work that out. Okay. I need to exercise. I mean, I'm 52 now. It's like I need to eat better and exercise, and it's like it still hasn't.
Well, that's an everyday grind that never stops.
Yeah.
But continue. So they hired you.
Yeah, they right off of high school. You know, they were what do you call it? I was getting.
You graduated from Garfield, 89?
Barely. Yeah, it's like I was failing English, and I happened to take. Well, my counselor calls me in, and she's like, because I never did the work. Yeah. I was just like, you know, I got to read a book. You know, got to do a paper. So I was failing it.
That was I mean, I don't want to get into my story again because I've told it here before, but my story was like the homework part of it. I was really bad at. I was good at school, but the homework part of it.
I got away with it because in one class, I think it was history, I wasn't doing the work, and what was it? I think I was working with Mike. This was early on. I think in.
Now, when he says Mike, he's talking about a friend of ours named Michael Cuevas,
right? And
who was an aspiring filmmaker back then.
Yeah, but in high school, he was working selling newspaper subscriptions door to door, and he got me a gig doing that. And that was in what do you call it? Sophomore year. In junior year, sophomores first, right? Well, in junior year, I had a class, and I wasn't working then, but I was always coming in late and not doing any of the work. And, you know, the teacher puts me aside, so what's going on, you know, and all that. And I mentioned, you know, it's like, you know, I said something that made him think that I was taking care of the family, that I was working after. Oh, so you have a job? Yeah, I have a job afterwards. And well, the thing is, I think I might have been still doing something. Anyways, he just thought that,
he gave you some.
Yeah,
slack,
he's a Mexican kid from the barrio, and so it's like, oh man, it's cool, you know. Hey, you know, I'll give you a C. It's like, all right, cool. Yeah. So he passed me, you know, even though again I should have failed that class. Because it's like awesome. I really wasn't doing shit, you know.
Wow.
But in senior year, again, I wasn't very.
Shout out to those teachers that cut us a break.
No, there's a story with my sister who, and I'm gonna rat her out right here. It's like in high school, it's like the teacher's like failing her, and she goes, no. It's like you gave me a C on that assignment. It's like, I did? Yeah, you gave me a C. oh, okay. So
No.
so it's like, and she just walks away. It's like, oh shit, it worked.
It worked. That's Jedi mind tricks, right
Yeah,
there.
like she just basically told him that it's
This
like,
is
no,
not the C you're looking for.
Well, the thing is the fact that she, I think she might have even said C minus. So she, wasn't saying, no, you gave me you gave me a barely passing grade.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, okay, maybe that you're right. And it's
That's
like,
funny.
But yeah, the thing with that, with my senior class that I was failing English, I get the counselor, I get in and he's like, yeah, you're not going to graduate. It's like you're missing your points or whatever, and I asked him, well, I happened to be taking a film critique class, and that gave me English credit. So so I told him, don't I get credit for, or, that
That count, yeah.
And he's like, yeah, you're right. And so that's how I graduated.
Wow. That's awesome. Damn, I wish I had that same story because I didn't get to. Anyways, so now I know you didn't go to art school, didn't do any of that.
No.
How did you perfect all this to then finally get you into like the comic book world? Because the story with you is so rare, right? That somebody like that age, that young, with the amount of experience that you had to enter into the comic book world at that time. And I mean, you've done some amazing covers for DC and right, the Supermans and the Batmans, and you've done
a few here and there, yeah.
And you've also created your own line. So, like, for the people that don't know, tell us, let's start at the beginning of how you ended up entering into the comic book world when you were young.
Well, I got...
Or even a little back to what gave you the drive to think that you could do it?
Well, I mean, comic books, again, you always knew they were there, but I liked the art form. It was actually, I was 13, 14. I started collecting G.I. Joes when I was, 11, 12. And it was just, I really liked them, And
who didn't back then, right?
But my sister... She had the leukemia back then, and so we'll get to. Well, it's like she had the leukemia, and my mom had to take care of the kids. I'm the oldest of 6, and my mom, we couldn't all travel. They had to go to school, and she had to take care of them. And well, anyways, I ended up, I think, at 12 or 13. Going on the bus, taking her to get her chemo. So it was just her and I. We would go, and my mom would give each of us $5 for food, chips, whatever. Or anyways, it's like, so while my sister was getting her chemo, I would go to the liquor store that was across the street from the hospital, General Hospital, Children's General Hospital, and get Doritos, Coke, whatever. And they had the comics there, so I'm flipping through them, and they have a G.I. Joe comic. I was like, oh.
What year was this?
This is, it has to be like, if I was 12 or 13, so it's got to be 84, 83.
Because with $5, you could get a hamburger special,
right,
and still get
but that's why it's
chips
like,
and still get a comic book.
I think it's like it was $5 for both of us.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, because it's like I'm going like, doesn't, so it's $5 for both of us, and for
it's
$1
still decent money.
Yeah, it's so I got my sister her soda and her chips, and it's like I was like, okay, well, let me get, and I got the comic instead of that, or on top of that, but I got it and I took it home.
What was the first comic you bought? Do you remember?
It was I think G.I. Joe 47.
Okay.
Or 43. I haven't kept track, but I remember it had Roadblock on the cover. Anyways, I got that, started reading it, and that got me into buying more G.I. Joes. Like, I went to Target, would buy the pack for like $5, and it had a crap load, or $3. And then I started going like thrifties and picking up more comics, and it's like, and then I came across again with G.I. Joe. There was a G.I. Joe yearbook that had this artist Michael Golden on it, and he did the interior. And I was just that's like my go-to book whenever I talk about that thing. when I read it, I think I might have been 14 at the time. And I was just like, I need to do this. This is what I need to do. Like, whatever
you
this
aspired to that great level right there that you saw.
And then
you saw your direction pretty much.
Well, it was just, whatever this is, it's just like I was just staring at all this lines and there was just detail after detail. But that introduced me, you know, I went bought the X-Men stuff and you know, was introduced to Mark Silvestri and Jim Lee and you know, Barry Windsor Smith. So all these comic book artists, I was just going to buy all this art that was just giving me that Art Jones. I was just like, it's
That's
like
awesome, dude. Yeah.
At the time, I mean, you know, when late teens, it's just walking into the shop and seeing what's new, and it just like there was this visceral reaction that I got, and I was like, I really want this art form. There was a period where I wanted to do like storyboards for movies or TV, whatever. I didn't know how to get into that, but I really loved comics. And as I was saying, in 92, 93, there was a big comic book boom with Image Comics when with these 7 artists split from Marvel and they created Image Comics, and that was like a big shock, you know, in the industry. And they started looking for talent, and all these other new imprints started looking for talent. So they opened up their looking for talent, you know, talent searches, and that's when I started submitting. Like I think 92, I started sending my submissions to the different or my art samples to all the different companies, and I was getting rejected left and right, you know. And it's like that's when I decided, when I found out about San Diego Comic-Con, like, okay, let's go there. But I mean, I was, you know, drawing was something I did on my free time. You know, I was working at the mom and pop shop, you know, during the day, and when I got home, that's what I did. I focused on just working, you know, polishing my characters and doing the best I could with them, you know.
I'm trying to imagine, did you have a workspace or just a artboard?
No, it's just an artboard. I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it might have been like
one of those.
Yeah, it's
compressed wood things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I think I bought it at Target or one of those spots, and that's what I used to use. And the other thing, I didn't know specifically, or I didn't pay attention to specifically what kind of boards you're supposed to get, even though I got the Draw the Marvel way. You know, Marvel in the 1980s and 90s, I think they put out this How to Draw the Marvel Way, where it's like it breaks down what kind of stuff to use. And I didn't pay attention. I just went to Target, Thrifties, Kmart, wherever I could find, and just bought whatever kind of board I could find, and drew on that. But
so coming home every day, you're putting in your hours,
and then just you know, and that was the thing.
And this is all pencil work.
Yeah. And that was the thing. It's like it was just I was passionate about it. It's like I need to do this. I need to get in. Like that was the drive that I need to. This is something I want to do. Yeah. So it's like I've got stacks.
You didn't have your eyes on anything else in life, like college or anything.
I couldn't afford college. I wasn't smart enough to go to college. Well, I didn't feel like it. Art school, I wanted to go to art school, but at the time, I think it was like $10,000. Yeah. It's just like, where am I going to get $10,000? You know, it's like I think I barely make that a year. You know,
it's so different from the way that we grew up and understanding like the economics of it. We didn't know anything of everything. Just seemed so far away and so unreachable at our age. But for the younger generation, thank God it's changed.
There is an easy. Well, I wouldn't say it's easier, but it's more accessible.
Yeah, like we understand we understand it better, so we can explain it better. We can get kids into it easier. I think that's just my way of looking at it. Again, I'm from the same generation you are, so we're a little bit backwards in some things.
Yeah, it's back then. I mean, now you could just post your work online and, you know, send a link to whoever and say, hey, check out my work.
Check it out. Yeah, it's so random sometimes. But let's keep going with your story. So you start submitting.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, what was funny is that working at the shop, at the silkscreen shop, it's like every time I finish something, there was this thing. It's like, again, I'm 19, 20-year-old dude. And I want to write my name. I want to put my name on my initials. I want people to look at my work and say that, Benitez did that. Joe Benitez did that. It's just, but they were like, no, you got to put the company logo there. It looks weird. So it was really annoying me that I couldn't promote myself. I wanted people to see my work. Yeah. But that's the thing that pushed me away because I was comfortable. Yeah. I'm getting okay money. It's just like paying the bills, and my lifestyle was very mellow. All I needed was for art supplies. So
you live the simple life.
Even now, it's like relatively simple. It's just like I don't. I'm not big on flashy anything. Yeah. It's just I don't have
just that flash in your eye.
There you go. The sweat. No, but when that happened, it kind of pushed me like, fuck that. I'm going to go try to seriously pursue that. That's why when I found out that they were looking for talent, that's when I kind of put all my energy into that. And yeah, it's like it was actually Carlos Garcia, my friend,
another friend of ours.
Yeah, he was working at the shop, and I was like, I remember showing him the thing about SDCC, about San Diego Comic Con. It's like I was like, I don't know, should I go? It's like, dude, go. Yeah. It's like, yeah, man, go show your work.
That's what he sounds like.
Yeah.
Dude, go.
He doesn't sound. So it's like, so we, went there, showed my work. Well,
it's still like
sending the stuff
for you to like get in a car and drive to San Diego was a pretty big deal back then. To like, bring your work and all that.
Well, it's like,
the one thing that I'm tripping on is like you didn't have anybody around you that could tell you like the direction.
No, well, the thing is, I was mentioning, it's like when you live in a bubble where everybody tells you how great you are. Yeah. It's like your family and friends build you up, and when you have someone you're constantly told how great you are. Yeah. With your circle, you believe it, and I believed it. I remember going to Universal City Walk. And at the time, I don't know if it's still there. I haven't been there in a while. But there was a comic shop, and it was affiliated with Dark Horse. Dark Horse is a publisher. And I remember taking my submissions there. And again, Mike and Carlos and George, another friend, were there. And it's like, they're like, come on, go show it. And I went up to the guy at the what do you call that? Counter. It's like, hey, I got some work and stuff like that. Can I show it to you guys? And then he's like, well, no, we're not taking it. I go, I'm really good. My mom says I'm good. My friend says I'm good. Say I'm good. It's like,
that's awesome.
So it's just like, I don't have that.
But it's a naivete, like just a naiveness.
Just like, no, we're not looking. All right. But the balls or not the balls, but that actual showing, going up there, really hurt. Like, it's so embarrassing.
Hurts, dude.
No, but not the rejection, just the embarrassment of having to go show your work. It's like you're exposing yourself.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So up until then, I most people just compliment, but I've never gone up to someone. It's like, hey, what do you think of my work? And so it's like I needed to, get used to that, because that was before I started sending my submissions and samples to the different companies. And when I started getting, rejection after rejection, it didn't faze me. It was just like, all right, I got to get better. It fueled me. It made me, okay, I'm going to fucking do it, better.
Now, were those critiques, do you think they were, were they right? Or were they, did you feel like they were wrong in what they said? Or did it teach you something? Did you learn like, oh, that is true, I could fix that?
It's the thing, I don't remember the specific critiques. Yeah. They were just, you're not good enough. Yeah. So it's just like, well, I'm gonna show you that.
But you knew it was something you could fix then.
Yeah, it was just I'm gonna keep going. Like I don't remember any specifics, like work on this or work on that. It was just.
But you also never felt like nobody knocked you completely down.
No, it was.
You felt like stronger.
Yeah, it was just like I'm gonna get better, and that's why when I went to San Diego, there was at the time I was a fucking ego monster. Like when it came to. Anything else in my life, I felt insecure and shit. But when it came to my art, I was just like, I'm the best.
Good.
Yeah.
Shit.
I'm destroy.
Joe Benitez.
Well, it's just like I felt very sure of what I could do. So when I went to Comic-Con, in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm gonna get hired. There was no doubt. It's like I'm gonna show my work, and that was the thing. Even when I was in line. In line to show my work, some of the other cats that were there, some of the other people that were showing their stuff would look at my work and they would be like, "Whoa," they would be impressed by it. So it's like I knew that there was something. I showed my work to other publishers, and no one was paying attention, but there was a specific line, probably 5 or 6 different lines for DC, Marvel. Image or different publishers. So I showed my work to them, and out of this whole show, I got 3 bites. I got Wildstorm. I found out after the fact that was Jim Lee's company, DC Comics, and Top Cow, Mark Silvestri's company. So it's like Mark Silvestri's company. They were more I showed it to editor at the time, David Wohl, who looked at the work. He liked it. He was like, "Hey, show it to Mark. Come on down later. Towards the end of the show, and but make copies." I didn't know that you were supposed to make copies, so I ran into there's a Kinko's there or FedEx now. It's like, and I made a bunch of copies.
$2 color copies.
Black and white.
Okay, that's right. It's pencil work.
Yeah, so it's like I showed them. So yeah, it's like I rolled over to Mark's. See, at the time, in 1992, 93, I should say, Image was like, they were the biggest thing in comics in that world. So it's like they had their own section that was tapered off, and it's like, so Mark was there, and the security, it was at the end of the show. So security's like, you got to move away, and then I saw David Wohl, and he's like, let them in. And so, I forgot to say, it's like, my little brother was with me, my little brother George. He was helping carry the load, like he would just drag this big ass suitcase all over while I was talking to people. And, we showed the work, and Mark liked it, and he told me, send us some more of your samples. And I did a week or 2 later, and a few days after that, I got the call, and that if I wanted to move over to San Diego, and that's what I did.
Wow, that started your whole career as a comic book artist. Now, in the beginning, were you just drawing like?
Well, it's like
how does it work? Well, for us people that don't know anything about the comic book.
Well, the thing is, the first year I was an intern. I was getting paid $300 a week.
This is big money.
Yeah, at the time. Not only that, I had room, and
room and board covered.
It's like we had a little. Well, basically, it's like actually before that, I went there with George, Carlos, and Mike. We drove down there so they could show us the layout to see how I dug it, and. We all went, and that was an interesting trip, But some other story.
That's a whole nother story if you went with them, I'm sure.
But yeah, it's like a week later, my mom, my dad, and I think some of my sibs drove my dad's orange van all the way there, and dropped me off, and then went back home. And then it's like I was living in Mira Mesa. But the thing is, that was the first day. I walk up to the studio. It was on the 3rd floor, and I'm like, I felt I made it. I was like, it was the moment was when one of the guys shows up, one of the studio mates, and he's bragging about his new car that he just bought, and you could see a window. You know, from the top floor, you could see a parking lot, and there was like 6 brand new $30,000 cars. And I was like, I made it. You know, that's going to be me in a few months. You know, it's like once I start rolling. So I was just like, yeah, fuck yeah, I made it. You know, of course I made it. I'm the shit. And that was my mindset. And then I started looking at their work. And the moment I started looking at their work and comparing myself to what they were doing, that was the moment that I got a dose of reality. Because it's like I realized that my level was not up to theirs. I had potential.
And now, these people that you're talking about, are they people that had been working with that company for a while now?
Well, most of them were no more than a year.
Okay.
You know, it's like they were brand new kids, you know, from all different parts. Artists.
But they had been refined.
Yeah, it's like they were most of them were working under Jim Lee. Okay. It's like I was the first new guy that Mark Silvestri brought in for his company. There was another artist named Brandon Peterson who was there before, but he was an established pro. I was a brand new kid that they brought in, and out of the new guys, I was just comparing myself to them, and I could see that my work was not at that level, not that refined, not that clean, and so that's when the first time in my life that I felt insecure about my work. That's the first time that I got oh man, I don't belong here. Because up until then, I felt like, you know, I do belong there.
But I think part of the good thing in that is that you recognized it. You were able to see what the better work is.
Right.
So you knew where you had to be.
It forced me to. The thing is, it's the type of artist that I wanted to be is different than the type of artist that I became. Because it's like the style, the look, the approach. I felt I had to cater to conform to their house style, you know, and draw a certain way, the image, or that was closer to the guys running the company.
Yeah.
So
being like in the comic book world and how a lot of things are drawn the same way. If you go to work for somebody, you're gonna have to draw things their way and all that. How do you continue to find originality in something like in that world? Like,
well, it's I think you start off like that. There's a lot of guys that start off as clones of other artists, and then you start incorporating. It's like a stew. Like each artist has a different type of aesthetic. Like I really like this guy or that artist, and you just start incorporating different artists, and you start developing your own style. Because it's like it just happens, you know. You can't help the more influences you incorporate into your work, the more diverse or different your style becomes. Like there's a lot of young artists when they break in that they want to have their own style. It's like I tell them, don't worry about style right now. Just draw. Your style will develop in time. It's like it just happens.
Yeah.
It's just like
it's
anything.
almost like you can't force a style.
It's like a rock band. Like if you're a Aerosmith, love Aerosmith, but then you start incorporating Black Sabbath, then you start incorporating Led Zeppelin, then you start incorporating, Justin Bieber or whatever. You're going to become a different animal. It just happens. It's just you can't help it because you're getting that creative influence that's going to completely alter the monster that you are.
I'm going to try to push forward a little bit because I really want to get to a lot of things. I want to get into, give us a brief rundown of like the comic books that you did work on and the companies that you worked with. But then I want to get into your own publishing company and your own storylines and characters.
Well, again, like I was saying, this is my 30th year. I'm going to celebrate my 30th year as a professional next month, and I kind of broke it down. Like I was supposed to be working on an art book that kind of covered my 30-year trip
Trajectory.
Yeah, it's like so. All of '90s, predominantly, it's Top Cow at Image. It's I worked on a book called and co-created a book called Weapon Zero. That was my first book. I did a few fill-ins before that and one-shots. Then I jumped on a book called The Darkness, and from there, I designed and co-created this other character called the Magdalena. She's like a warrior nun, and that we did a series after that, and then I left Top Cow and pursued my creator-own in the 2000s. I did a book called Wraithborn about this girl who gets
Wraithborn. Wraith.
Yeah, Wraith. I saw this cheesy Charlie Sheen movie in the 90s called The Wraith, or in the 80s, actually, 80s. And I really liked the name. I was like, Wraith, what the fuck is a Wraith? And then I read it's like, oh, it's just a ghost. And I don't know, I was just, so throughout my, teens, I had this character called the Wraith. Yeah. And when I got around to doing a creator-own, it's like, I'm going to come up with the Wraith.
It's funny how a word like that can... stick with you.
But unfortunately, someone else had already had a comic called The Wraith, so I had to change it, and we went with Wraithborn. And so did that, but it, no tuvo pegue, so we did something else. I mean, I from there, it was affiliated with Jim Lee's company, Wildstorm. That's where that printed Wraithborn, and I was offered work at DC. I was offered Batman. I was kind of like the little, Jim told me, hey, you want to take over Batman after me? It's like, yes, I do. It's like, so I was like all gung ho, like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna do Batman. But then it's like, then that didn't happen. They, when I was signing, it's like, they gave it to someone else. It's like, wait, well, we're going to give you this other book. It's like Superman, Batman. It's like, okay, that sounds dope. Let's do that. But someone else is on it. But it's like, okay, you'll take over after him. It's like, okay, cool. So I started, getting into. Anyways, it's like I started.
We like that story. You can tell it.
So I just started drawing Superman, Batman, but it's actually Supergirl, Batwoman. And I only did like 11 pages of it because it's like the writer who wrote the story was not digging what I was doing because my stuff was too pin-up-y, too imagey. And I was like, well, yeah, dick shit. And it's like,
that's where I come from.
It's kind of like, if this is the kind of artist I am, well, this is the kind of shit that I'm going to do. This is why the editors brought me in. So it's like, but he had a lot more juice. Yeah. So it didn't work out, and I was so for the next 2 years I signed an exclusive with DC. For the next 2 years I was just doing fill-ins here and there, and it was just not satisfying because it's like I honest to God, the reason I went to DC was I wanted to establish myself as do a run in the industry. You have to get on a book for about a year or more. You have to have a whole run of continuous to build up an audience and build up a name for yourself.
And they just kept moving you around.
They kept moving me. Well, they promised this, they took it away. They promised that, they didn't. And it just like that was the second time that I felt a bit deflated in the industry. It just. When I first started on the Superman, Batman, I was really like, and those pages I feel they're some of my best work, but they never saw published, and it's like, and they just sitting there because it's like again, after that when I had those that I realized it's like. Working at Image, I had a lot of say in the story. I had a lot of say in the creative aspect. When I worked at DC, it's like it was pretty much shut up and draw. It's basically we're hiring you to draw the stuff. Yeah. And then it's like, but I'm doing the best I can. And then you got this guy who doesn't like what I'm doing with I'm bringing my A game, and I'm getting this guy shitting on it, and it's just like, what the fuck? You know, what's the point? So that.
And it wasn't even that your work wasn't good; it was just a different style.
Yeah, it's not meshing with whatever
what his vision was.
Yeah, I mean, there was a moment where it's like I'm supposed to draw this alien flower. You know, it's like it's supposed to be the most beautiful flower. You know, so I found this really interesting lily that I based it on, and it's like so I drew that. You know, I used it and I drew it in a bunch of pages, and then I get a note. Well, yeah, he's not digging on it. It's like it's not, you know, what he was imagining. It's like I go, do me a favor, send me the
classic
ref.
design. Like
Yeah, send me the ref. Be specific. You know, or what homie wants. I'll do that. I'll switch it. I'll what do you call it? I'll clean it up. I'll
yeah, whatever you want.
So I went and I erased all the flowers that I already drew to, you know, waiting for this magical, beautiful flower that, and I got a bunch of different flowers with the note. Doesn't matter what it looks like as long as it's beautiful. It's just like,
my God.
You know, I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to know what this dude's opinion of beautiful is? It's subjective. It's
my God.
I don't know. Like
that's the worst note ever.
Well, it's just like so. It just I was just so fucking annoyed by that, and I'm like, this is my first gig for a 2-year contract. I'm like, what am I going to do from, you know, I can't quit, or I don't know if I'm kind of stuck with these guys for 2 years. But it's like, but yeah, I mean, it was one of those where I had to adjust myself, and it just wasn't a pleasant experience for me.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's just because again, I felt like I already proved myself.
Yeah.
I already, you know, by then I was in the industry for 10 years. So it's like, you know, my body of work. If you like my work, cool. If you don't fucking hire me.
So what ended up happening there?
Well, again, you know, did fill-ins, a little bit of fill-ins here and there, one-shots. They were actually pleasant experiences. Actually, it reminds me of one of my artists that I love, Michael Golden. I had a conversation with him once, and I was bitching and moaning about this moment in my life, of this moment in my career, where it's like I went specifically to DC because I wanted to get a run. I wanted but because they had me jumping around books, I was annoyed that I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And he actually, when having that conversation, he's like, "Oh, that's so great." I go, "What do you mean it's great? You get to draw all kinds of different things." I never saw it from that perspective because I was so locked on, I want to run, I want to show people, you know, I want to build a name for myself, and I want to establish, because again,
you kind of build your brand that way.
Yeah. Pretty much every single artist that I know that has moved up a level worked, did a run on DC or Marvel characters. They did something with Marvel characters for a long term, and they became a big brand. You know, it's like out of all the guys in my crew, people that I came up with, I think I might be the only guy that didn't have a run on something.
Wow.
And I feel based on that, my name, I never went that level. I never got that brass ring. I never worked on I did Titans. I did 4 issues of Titans. That was the longest run on a DC or Marvel run. But then I got taken off that. So it's like after I got taken off that, and I was supposed to re-sign with DC, I was like, fuck it. You know, it's just like the money's good, but what's the point of if they're just giving me spotty gigs, and it's just, this is just not fun for me. I was just like burnt, and I stopped working for a few months, and unfortunately, a studio mate, really well-known artist named Michael Turner, he passed away in earlier that year. And I'm good friends with everybody who was part of his studio, you know. So they approached me and asked if, you know, I was hanging out with them, and they heard me bitching and moaning about my experience. And a few months later, they asked if I would finish his Soulfire.
Wow.
So it's like it was a 10-issue arc, but he only got up to 8 issues, 8.5, I think. So I jumped in and and finished the story. And then I started hanging out with those guys, and they were asking, what do you want to do? Like, you want, and that's when I was like, well, I'd like to give the creator-owned, the creator-owned angle another try. And
Creator-owner.
Yeah, create my own story.
I'll create your own story.
Yeah, so it's like, do the creator-owned comics, those self.
Yeah, so that's your own.
Yeah. So that's when we decided, or I decided to let's try the.
And you established your studio.
Well, not yet.
Not yet.
We they published initially. I have these other IPs that I was developing that I was gonna do. And then I went to a show in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, called DANCNG. And there's a big contingency of steampunk cosplayers. The thing is, it's like when you go to cons, you see stormtroopers, Klingons, you see anime, you see SpongeBob, you see steampunkers, at the time, and they're walking around and it's con noise. You don't pay attention. It's just there. It's the backdrop.
Can't see the trees for the woods.
It's just the environment. But I happened to be hanging out with a group that were into that, and one of the girls that I was hanging out with, she was drawing like her outfit for a steampunk outfit, and I was like, "What's that for?" It's like, for next year or for a show, I'm designing my steampunk outfit, and it's like, it's like, so that's a thing. You design it. It's like, yeah, it's like, and then I started looking around at the different cosplayers or the different steampunk. I don't know if that's the proper term, because it's like they're not cosplaying anything. They create their own outfits, but they put so much love and unique creativity. It's their own characters. They're creating their own characters. And I started paying attention to that. It's like, that's, that actually looks kind of cool. And it really, like, I started getting into the world, like, what is this? And I started taking pictures and doing sketches. And I'm like, I think I should do this. I should do something along those lines. And, but I didn't want to do it for myself. I have a friend, Martin Montiel, who he works with me on Mechanika, but at the time I wanted to develop it for him because he's a monster when it comes to detail. Like if you see any, we'll get there, but his approach is super detailed, and I didn't want to draw all the gadgets and pouches and machinery and stuff, but I thought that he would. So I was developing it for him, for his his aesthetic, his strengths, and developing the story for him. Then I went to another show later, like a few months later in Florida, called MegaCon or SuperCon. It was MegaCon, I think. And again, I saw a very big contingency of steampunkers. And right before I left, I remember talking to Aspen, Frank Mastromoro, and Peter Steigold, who own Aspen, and we discussed what creator-owned I wanted to do. And I gave him a list of like 3 that I had in mind. And that was one. The steampunk one was, hey, I'm kind of tentative. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But so I went to Orlando, and I saw it again. And I was like, okay, there's something here. There's something here, because there's no comic like that. There's nobody doing anything like that. I think the only one that was out at the time was League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and I believe a book called Genius Girl. That's I guess about a young girl steampunk inventor or something. I'm not exactly sure, but it didn't have the imagey flair that I like. So it's like I decided, okay, you know what? I'm going to develop it for myself. I'm going to do this, and I came back and I told them, okay, this is what I'm thinking. I'm going to do this.
Got it.
And that's when I started like putting all my attention on creating what became Lady Mechanika.
Lady Mechanika. I want to ask you like some questions about, or what can you tell me about like how you like, without getting into the entire story of it,
Right.
how do you decide like what kind of philosophies and you know, like subtext to put into your stories? And you know, you're a big thinker. I know you, and we've had some like conversations about life in the world and all the things underneath the things that are said on the page. I wonder how you like come across, or how you come to the point of like, this is the idea that I want to go with, and this is where I want to point her thinking.
I think the simplistic. It's basically, a lot of that stuff eventually got fleshed out. But the initial was very simple, male or female lead, or a team. And it's like, my experience, based on the stuff I've worked on, I get a lot more attention when I do female characters, when I do female leads. The first book I ever did was a team book. Then it was a male-dominated book called The Darkness. Then I did Magdalena. When I did Magdalena, that, you know, I got more attention because now I'm getting male and female audience. So I knew, okay, I think I need to do like a female-dominated, female-led character or book. So I started going with that. My initial concept was Celine from Underworld, but in the Victorian times. So literally Mechanika, if you see the image of Mechanika, and it's Celine, but wearing steampunk gear. And there is this model named Kato, who does, at the time she was very big, doing a like sort of a goth steampunk. It's a Steampunk Couture. That was her brand. And I really loved her angle. It was more like, because I wanted to go with the vampire look, or the vampire aesthetic, the goth, whatever
stuff. Yeah,
she had that. She had like
and she was doing this as like a cosplay type.
No, she was fashion designer.
Okay.
So she was doing her
designing
own,
the stuff.
Yeah, and I remember like going like, I really like her aesthetic. I love her aesthetic. It's just, it appeals to me, that whole goth stuff, and I remember showing it to my co-writer, Marcia Chen, who saying, I had a whole bunch of pictures of Kato and going like, I kind of want to do something with that feel, like, you know. And then she's like, oh, that kind of looks like, the Wraithborn, like my Wraithborn design, some of the leathers. And Wraithborn, the character, she has like all these straps and, you know, armbands and all kinds of stuff, but it's black leather. And I was like, oh, I could just take that and modify it, do a kind of like a combination and make it brown and, you know, brown leather. And so that's where I started like doing like, how can I take that cool goth steampunk look and make my own? And I started going online and basically typing in sexy goth, sexy steampunk, and I was getting all these cool images, and it's like, I like this, I like that, I just started doing my own stew and blending it all together and coming up with what I ended up coming up with. But that was just a visual. Yeah. The story itself initially, I mean, I very simplistic. I was just going to do her fighting Jack the Ripper, but a hyped up, super ultra Jack the Ripper, you know, like. And then again, I talked to Marcia, and she's like, well, from her end, it's like, you want to do characters that are ambiguous. You never know if they're good or bad. Like, you know, what exactly, who are they? And that's when the first story deals with Mechanika tracking down this creature that everybody is afraid of, you know, and they're, you know, people are hunting it. And what initially attracts her to it is that the creature is half mechanical, or it has mechanical aspects to it, which up until then, she was the only known. Oh, the thing is, it's again, Mechanika herself, she's a paranormal investigator, but she's got mechanical arms and legs in the 1800s.
Yeah,
You know,
so it's all steampunk,
yeah. So
steam powered.
yeah, well, it's not really steam powered. It's just I use the term steampunk because that's the easiest for people to they go, oh, steampunk, I know what that is, but it's really more like when technology, electricity, and all kinds of other types of energy sources happen to be around. Then it's just that everything around them, like you'll see automatons, robots, you'll see flying vehicles.
So there's no real like time and place.
It takes place in the 1800s. Okay. It's just a altered timeline.
Got it.
So it's like we're using the aesthetic from that time.
Basically, if Chat GPT was invented back then.
Well, yeah, but using the best way to do it for me, or the approach is taking the material from that time, the aesthetic from that time, and like if I'm going to do a computer, I'm not going to look like a IBM or anything. Mac. Yeah, it's going to look like some sort of you find some shape from that era, maybe a circle, maybe a periscope or something, and you make it, so it's like you take elements that would fit in that time zone, in that time era, design aspects or something that, and
that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's like it's sort of like the steampunk aspect. It takes a backseat. Yeah. Like whenever we do a story, we always do the story first. And then at different places, where can we steampunk it up? Where can we, okay, let's turn this character into an android. Okay, instead of them, riding the train, they're on a dirigible or a Zeppelin or something. Instead of her having a gun, she has a, big ray gun. Exactly.
That sounds badass, dude, just to like be able to like, have fun with choosing stuff like that.
That's where the
now real quick, because you mentioned this other woman, Chen, I want to know like what kind of a team do you have, because of course people see the name, they see the comic book, and they imagine like the man behind it, but I imagine that of course at this point of your success you have a team, and a very good team that's doing badass shit right now as you're entering another level of like releasing stuff.
Yeah, it's Marsha. We met when we were both working at Top Cow. I jumped on. She was inking. She was an inking assistant to one of the guys there, but she was also helping that guy with his story. So she's been a writer, herself. That was her thing growing up, and I started working on Darkness, and I didn't like the direction that Darkness was going in, the book that I was on. And I asked the editors, can I alter it? And it's like, and they're like, yeah, if you want to. So I had that conversation with her, and I asked her, hey, do you want to help me, flesh this shit out? Because it's not working. And it's like, yeah. So she helped me flesh Darkness out. And that happened to be the time when we were introducing this character called the Magdalena. And the editors were so impressed by it, they offered her the Magdalena book to develop, wow. and it's like she was actually working on that for a different artist, but he couldn't make it, he couldn't commit to it. So I was like, well, I'll do it, and that's when we started really developing the team, and we did the Wraithborn together. It's like, so did that with Mechanika. I wanted to do it on my own, and my problem is like, so that's why it's like whenever I would bounce ideas off of. So it's like I would give her like, this is what I'm thinking. She'd be, why don't you do this? It's like, okay, and I'd take it that way. Then I'd get there, and it's like, well, why don't you do that? It's like, okay, yeah. It's like, and then I basically, she would give me like directions of where to go, and then I would develop it with my flavor, And so in the volume 1, she has a special thanks because she didn't want to be associated with because I was taking point on it. I was like, at the end of the day, it's like I was,
should say do this, and then I'd go back and no, I want this. I wanted to say that. So it's like in volume 1, there's a lot of words. So and we get a lot of critiques about how wordy volume 1 is, and it's like, you're welcome. So it's like, but volume 2 she wrote, and that's when first actually Martin, it's like he came in and helped in volume 1, but at the same time I had him doing volume 2. Like we were I was laying the book out and he was drawing it. So he took so we had those volume 1 and 2 working at the same time. And but yeah, it's like.
So what does your team look like now? 4 people, 5 people?
It's we're varying. Yeah. Like because of the fucking pandemic, it's like Martin used to come and help, and we would either I'd go there or he'd come here, and we would sit and all like team on the book, But because of it, we weren't able to. So right now, I actually it was difficult to allow other artists without my not input, but more like taking point. Like it was difficult to let go, but I started developing other stories, and we got other artists to take point on that, and I kind of took a backseat at just more art directing, like, hey, maybe change this, change that, and so now I feel a little bit more comfortable doing that. Our latest book, we have Sia Ohm. She's she's been around for a bit, and she's taken over the art chores. The next book, Marcia. So basically, up until now, every book has been pretty much Marcia and I. Either I'll take a point and direct where I want to go. The way it works is like if I have an idea.
When you say point, you mean lead, like person in charge.
It's basically like this. Like
you're the captain of the ship.
Like volume 1, I had the idea. I knew where I wanted, or I wanted to take it somewhere. She came in and kind of added her flavor. I took it back, added my flavor, and at the end of the day, it's like I kind of dictated where I wanted to take the book. Volume 2, she took lead. I kind of like, would jump in and suggest things, and it's like, but ultimately it went her direction. So there's been books like that where it's like we go back and forth. And the team, basically, she's the analytical, I'm the abstract. It's the joke that we make is like, I'm like a bunch of balloons flying all over. And she has to wrangle them in because
that's funny. That's good.
Because it's like when I'm writing, I go on different tangents.
She helps give it structure and hold it down. Yeah.
Yes,
that's beautiful.
I'm the chaos. She's the organization. She's
and yin and yang. So that's awesome, dude. I want to congratulate you on all the success you've been having with that, and I hope that you do get to make this into a movie one day.
Well, yeah, we've had bites, but they just didn't work out.
Yeah, I mean it's still there. It's an IP that belongs to you, and you just we'll cross our fingers for that. I quickly want to mention your Kickstarter that is happening right now, or like by the time this goes out, it should be on the final days.
Right.
So if people are interested, where can they find that Kickstarter?
I don't have the link, but maybe I can give you the link.
We can find at Joe Benitez, right?
Yeah.
So it's underscore.
At joebenitez.com.
joebenitez.com.
Or Benitez Productions. But if you look on Kickstarter for Lady Mechanika, just type it in. Yeah. It's called the Devil in the Lake. And you could hook up on my socials at El Joe Benitez at Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
And I'll have all the links.
X. It's called X now.
If you're on YouTube, all the links will be below. So what do you see in the future for Joe Benitez Productions and all that?
Well, at the moment, I'd say I have like 5 solid stories for Lady Mechanika.
Yeah.
We want to spin it off and have like this. It's like we did a Dia de los Muertos storyline that's really popular. It's almost like we get just as much attention for Mechanika than for La Dama de la Muerte that we do for Mechanika, and we want to spin that off into its own series, not Mechanika affiliated,
awesome.
but I also have other IPs that I'd love to develop. So I'm hoping that I get those IPs fleshed out and hire other creators to help on that. But I also want to branch out into collectibles, do toys, statues, and basically do my own sort of collectible company and merch.
All the things that the big boys do, and you're trying to play with the big boys. So
it's like you gotta. It's what's that? It's like you aim to shoot.
Aim for the stars so that you can, at least hit the ceiling.
It's like it just always, even if you fail, at least you're.
Yeah, failing high. Yeah, right. That's awesome. Is there anything else you want to talk about that we haven't talked about?
Trying to think.
Good.
Yeah, it's like about all the gangster shit that happened back in the day. No, it's like Martin. It's like it's someone told him because I was from East LA. It's like before he met me, my art partner. He said that someone told him that I was a leader of some gang, some East LA gang, and the first time he saw me, I was at the time I was rocking a beanie and glasses, so I'd be at a con or at a booth, just standing there like that. And he goes, "Yeah, you looked so fucking intimidating."
That's
like,
hilarious.
When I saw you, it's like odds are I was hungover, because at cons I would get a little saucy.
Yeah. Only at cons.
Well, it's like, it's usually
if you could put it in a number, how many Comic Cons you think you've been to?
Oh man, average. Again, not counting the pandemic because
all the different cons, not just.
Oh, different cons.
Yeah,
probably 15, 20, from different countries and different states and whatnot,
Damn. All right. Well, there's a question that we ask everybody at the end of each podcast, and it's a very vague question.
Fuck. Oh, wait. It's not that one?
No.
Your favorite cuss word?
No, it's not that one.
Oh,
but you get to, it's a vague question, so you can answer as vaguely as you want, or you could, say whatever you want, really. And we just ask that you try to answer in one sentence. So if a being from another planet or another realm came in front of you and was able to see your entire trajectory, all of the work that you've done, all of the hard times that you've had, all of the good times that you've had, how you made it through everything and read all your books, understood you completely. How would you answer if they asked, Joe Benitez, how do you do it?
I don't know.
That's beautiful. We can leave it at that. That's a good answer because it's a very honest answer. And it leaves us even wondering even more. So thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you. Don't forget to go to joebenitez.com, and we'll see you guys next week.